Everyone's talking about AI, but when it comes to customer insights, there's one thing you need to know, and we're going to cover that today.
Exactly. And in today's episodes, we're going to talk about synthetic users. What are they? Where AI fails spectacularly and why? 3 biggest customer insight mistakes, and how to combine AI analysis with real-world context. Okay, let's talk about synthetic users or AI users. And please don't confuse them with AI clones. So companies today are using LLM to get insights and do user research without actually any users. So I think there's several platforms now that offer the service where you, as a company, you can come and you can pay for the synthetic users that pretend to be your users. So let's say you're building application for running women. So you can come to such platform and you say, this is who I'm looking for. And obviously the platform will give you the subset of the users or like groups of users that they interviewed that potentially could match your users, right? And we're not going to bash this idea at all. We just want to talk about pros and cons of that and when maybe it's better than nothing, right? So synthetic users are a little bit like mannequins. So they resemble people, but they don't really feel like people. And I'll give you a really simple example from my life, from my project. So let's say I'm working on trading platform for portfolio managers, right? So I say to AI platform, I work with X users. So even if synthetic users have no data on those specific PMs or portfolio managers that I'm working on, right? So what are the chances they will have that specific information that I need, right? So they in the system, they might have generic information about portfolio managers, but in my case, they might not have information about portfolio managers in this specific business, maybe in this particular part of the world, or the people who are working with specific instruments and sort of context of day-to-day work, right? So this is going to be part that is going to be missing from that research.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest challenge with the LMMs is like knowing what the data set is that's been used to train those models. I mean, it's like insane and like super exciting and like amazing area of growth. And some of this stuff is like unbelievable, and it's great to get a first stab at stuff. And yeah, I mean, for most people, it might be actually really helpful. But it's the specifics around stuff. And when you're creating a product in a certain market, as you said, particular demographic across specific personas, like you want to drill into what's specifically relevant for those people using your platform. So might be a great place to start, but without any like transparency on what the data set is on those LMMs, then it can be kind of challenging to know if you're missing anything really, because there's no actual like transparency at the minute in those models. So it's like a good, it could be a really helpful way to form an assumption, okay, this is giving us really amazing direction, but is this, we need to like make sure that we validate this assumption and not just go with it blindly because we don't have the transparency over what's gone into that specific data set.
Right. So basically with this platform, we kind of replacing real interaction with the users, real interviews with the users and questioning and sort of one-on-one sessions with AI users who mimic those real life users, right?
Yeah, so it's like you could pick up usability challenges, some standard frameworks which have common patterns online, and mobile first and button sizes and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, no brainer. It's gonna like pick up all of that stuff, great. But the nuances that are gonna differentiate your product from a competitor's product, that's where you're going to need to drill into some of your own data.
And also it's worth mentioning that human behavior is very complex and very context dependent, right?
That is right.
And synthetic users really simplify it and make it seem very one-dimensional, if that makes sense, right? So, and also like you mentioned, because we don't know what data they were trained on, the information that we can get might be very inaccurate or very misleading. And also a problem with AI is sometimes, which I find personally quite difficult, is sometimes AI gives you answers and they put it in the way that it's very convincing and it feels like it's true when it could be completely not true, right? So without the research, you won't catch and correct those inaccuracies, right?
Yeah,
So
I guess it's like where, contextually, where are you with your product? If you're kind of gauging a market and you're starting out and you're conceptually thinking it could be like an amazing way to get an incredible amount of data back from the market and then provide a whole lot of options that you could then go out and investigate with those as your kind of assumptions, like much better than and easier than you've ever been able to do that ever before, which is amazing. But it's like, you want to validate it.
one thing worth highlighting here as well is that AI very often can give you favorable feedback. And so you get a bit of a false confidence, if that makes sense. So if you're asking that synthetic users if they would use your platform, if the experience is good or whatever is the question, very often they might say, yes, it's very good, because potentially they might not have data to say why it's not very good, right? Because I haven't seen AI ever responding to me saying, I don't have enough information to answer that question. So they always will try to fill that gap somehow. And whether it's going to be correct or not is a different story. So obviously we're talking about synthetic users, so they are replacing your real interviews with with real people with the synthetic users instead. And I'll give you a very interesting example, and this is from an NG article. So example where interviewer is asking AI and asking a human the same question. So the question is, have you finished all of the lessons in the course? So AI answer to that was, yes, I have finished all of them and found them very useful, especially the part about choosing the right clients. Very straightforward. Okay, let's look at the human's response. Well, I started, with 3 lessons, but later on I got distracted. I had holidays booked. And then when I was back, I forgot what I had already done. But for some reason, I had no access anymore to those 3 lessons. So eventually, I had to just carry on with other lessons without the basics of the 3 first sessions. Overall, I felt it was not great.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the perfect example, right? It's bringing this like human individual is bringing in like some real world context there. It's like, okay, I'm using interface and experience, but I have the rest of the world hitting at me at the same time. I'm on my laptop and then I'm distracted by something else. That kind of thing isn't ever going to be an issue for AI, right? Because it's 24/7 on the task that you've given it. But those things can actually be incredibly important for your platform, product or service, because depending on who it is and what the problem is that you're overcoming, if it's like parents, then having kids and the like contextual thing of having kids in your life and managing that and doing whatever it is the problem your platform's helping you overcome, that's probably needs to be supportive in the solution you're delivering. So that's where it's a good example of like some nuanced behavior.
It's right. I mean, AI will never say it went on holiday, right? I mean, not anytime soon, I guess, hopefully.
Unless you told
I don't want my AI to take holidays when I'm not taking holidays, okay?
There's no chance you'll raise that AI is taking a holiday.
Well, we'll see. And also, from just this experience, this example, we can see that people are starting lessons, stopping, then they want to go back. If your platform doesn't allow them to go back, it's a really good signal here that they should allow them to go back. And then obviously the experience was not great, and then continue with the session. So there's a lot of stuff going on here that AI would never ever be able to express, because AI, at least as of today, cannot understand the context of real life, right?
Yeah, but it can do some stuff really, really well. So it's like
That's
if you
right.
wanted it to go through your course and highlight any kind of usability issues through that course, getting from one to another, like it could probably do that like really specifically better than, so you don't need to waste time on that, and then you can drill into the real human insights alongside. So I think it's just being very clear on
Yeah.
how you want to use it rather than expecting it to do kind of everything for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a very good point. Just knowing what AI is good at and what AI is not very good at, and use it for the things that it's very good at.
Yeah,
And
100%.
I think analysis of data AI is pretty good,
Yeah.
apart from hallucinations.
Yeah,
but
well, that's, analysis of data, right? You're providing the data.
yeah,
So it's like there you've got control of the artifact, it's primary, you're putting that into it, then asking it to recall. Like that's a smart use, I think.
all right, cool. Let's move on to where AI fails. As we already mentioned, the usage context. So AI is not very good in understanding the user context, the human context. Let's say, we can see, AI can see users spend 3 minutes on the dashboard daily, right? And reality could be they are confused and clicking randomly, trying to find out where they are and what they need.
Yeah.
So for AI, it might look like, cool, they engaged. And the reality is like, no, they're actually pissed off.
Yeah, well, like, it's like the two different things here, right? The time spent is your quantitative data. Okay, someone's on this dashboard, so why? It's like, oh, it's either good or it's bad, or they really like what they see and they're intrigued and they're reading, or they're confused as hell trying to figure out how they go to the next thing or deliver their action. So that's the like, two things there. You in the reality, you have the why. They're actually confused, and that's why they're spending a long time.
Yeah. Okay, number 2 on where AI could fail in terms of understanding your customers is real world factors, right? So AI could look at your product and say, hey, your churn increased by 23% in Q3. So it could be, oh, something is going on with your platform. You don't know, like maybe somebody's unhappy. But in reality, it could be that your biggest competitor like launched a free tier, or, customers are like just price shopping and checking out what's out there, right? So again, AI is able to see what's happening, but really can't explain, it actually can't know what's going on in the real world, like with your competitors, for example, right?
Unless I guess it's been updated on like super recent stuff. Maybe Grok might have a...
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, this is like a very generic approach. I mean, maybe some AI models are more up to date, but I don't know if AI would be so up to date to know that your competitor just has
did
launched something, right?
Yeah.
So there will be a delay, let's put it that way. Okay, next up in AI fails in terms of understanding your customers is emotional triggers. Okay, so AI could see that support tickets mention frustrated 47% more. But the reality could be it's not about the actual bug, it's actually about the feeling of being unheard when they report it. And I think AI would be very challenged on, like, it would be very difficult for AI to understand that unless somebody specifically puts in the ticket, I have asked you 3 times now to fix this, right? Then maybe AI would just feel like there is some kind of frustration with the process rather than with the bug. So those kind of like small differences could make a massive difference for your product.
Yeah, it's like the quality of data that it has inputted. So if that support tickets are super short and they're specific around a bug, unlike a kind of customer feedback ticket where they might get a little bit more in depth, then that could be challenging.
Number 4 on our list of AI fails when it comes to understanding your customers is workflow integration, or understanding even of workflow, right? So AI could see, for instance, that potential feature adoption is very, very low. So it might seem like, okay, feature is really bad. But in reality, it could be that feature works great. It just doesn't fit exactly into users' existing workflows, right? So if we understand that this is the problem, not the entire feature, but actually how it fits into the lives of our customers, we can make it work really, really well. But if you only listen to AI, we could get the impression that feature is like no good.
Yeah, context. Yeah, and I listened to a great talk with Jared Spool like a few evenings back on like AI and the excitement of it in the market at the moment. And he said a lot of the discussion around it is kind of like in the future, where it will be this ideal scenario, but it's kind of like this future hasn't actually quite come yet, and it always still sort of seems to be like just 2 years away, but the
It's like horizons.
yeah, but the 2 years hasn't quite arrived just yet. So he was saying, there's like some, what did he say, five challenges around that. The fifth one that we've got on this point is around like inaccuracy. So it's like 28 to 50% hallucinating at the moment. So it does like require quite a bit of critical thinking when you're using this stuff, and kind of understanding of your field to make sure that what is being kind of regurgitated to you is correct. It's such a conundrum. It's such an exciting thing, but it's just very important to be aware, I think, of the where it sort of actually sits. So inaccuracy is one. Not go on. You've got a point you want to say.
Just wanted to say on that. I think when ChatGPT came out for the first time, I think we started kind of trying to use it for our research analysis, right, for our clients. So what we did, we took some of the data that we already analyzed manually ourselves, and then spent some time writing prompts in order to get exactly the same result as we would otherwise gotten doing it manually. And it became very quickly very apparent that there was around 20-30% sort of made up information. And I think even today, when I'm trying to or asking AI to analyze the data, I actually repeat 3 or 4 times in the same prompt to make sure it doesn't make up stuff, and to run again, to run again, to run again. So this is something definitely to be aware of when working with AI.
Yeah. Not predictable was his second point. So it might not give the same outcome every time. So if you're looking for consistency, that can kind of be a bit of a challenge. I think it's like, that could be a really cool thing, right? If you're using Mid-Journey and you wanting an image, I mean, God, I had some amazing fun looking at that, creating kind of images just of like a few word kind of inputs and just letting it run wild. Then you get some really fascinating outcomes. I think it's like giving it free, but when you're trying to kind of control, then it can be kind of challenging. So particularly around not being predictable, right? So it's cool to do 1 image, 2 image, but say I actually heard someone in another group that I was in, they wanted to do a whole like storyboard or animation, but they couldn't get the images the same or the storyboard like consistent, so that every time they would have a
continuity
continuity. So I mean, that was a while ago, maybe that's changed now, but not predictability is one challenge. Thirdly, he said about the prompts, they're maybe not as easy as they might seem, and he talked about like on LinkedIn, there's lots of AI gurus commenting about all the different prompt cues. So it's like, here you go, here you can have this prompt, and then it's like a 4-page long prompt on how to get this document to do what you want. So he was kind of sort of expressing that actually it's not as easy as you might think, and I think you've sort of said that yourself when trying to get it to align with the analysis we've done.
It took a long time too, and it was like very long prompt, and like you said in the previous prompt, the previous point, it's very unpredictable what the outcome is going to be. Even if you give it a format you want to follow, it might change it. So it's quite annoying, I would say.
Okay, another point on that, like it might require multiple interactions to actually get the correct results.
That's
so
right.
the all the correct kind of like details around what it is. So it's like a bit of a back and forth negotiation to get where you want. And just the last point that Jared Spall shared was that it currently is uninspectable. So it's very difficult to figure out how it's got to where it's got. So I think that that's where it can become like the biggest challenge for understanding like your customers and the people that you're looking for. You're looking to understand is you can't quite see where the jumps have been made and how you've got to the destination that you've got to.
So it's kind of like a black box that you put the data in and then it spits out something, but you don't know how it arrives. It actually wouldn't work with my math teachers. Like if you wanted to give them result of any equation, you had to show them how you arrived to that conclusion. Otherwise, you would not pass the tests.
I took the calculator on my desktop and yeah.
Okay, so takeaway from this part is that AI alone might be very misleading and take you to wrong product decisions, really, and directions. And just because it's automated, it doesn't mean it's accurate. And I think this is something very important to remember, because I get so excited about automating things, and like you type in something in AI and it gives you all of this convincing information, but we just need to really remember that it not necessarily is all truth.
Yeah, and I think an important point of you said about AI might be misleading or take you on the wrong product direction. It's kind of important to know, along with understanding your customers and fixing their problems, actually you want to take the direction in the way that you want. You're like the business, so you should have some steer in that. And I'm thinking about that because I spent some time using AI, like researching our field and industry, and it was actually like really helpful to look broad, like what's happening kind of in the world. What's the US market like? What's the UK market like? How does this kind of break down into the different type of founders and where they are? And you can kind of slice and dice. But then when when we started to speak to people and run like calls chatting to founders, then actually from that understanding and speaking to people kind of firsthand, then there was some insights that weren't in that kind of mass data provided that helped us kind of come up with the direction of supporting tech founders like that are mission driven specifically. That wasn't really something that was sort of surfaced. So it's kind of interesting to think, you can also make a decision on where you go. Like it's a supporting tool.
Yeah.
Okay, so 3 biggest mistakes with AI customer insights. First up, trusting AI without validating your assumption. So what companies will do, they'll go, AI says our customers want X feature, so then let's build it. So they just crack on and start building. A way better approach would be just to go, okay, AI has identified a pattern here. Let's talk to our customers and understand, like, does this work for them? And is this right for us and our business, our startup, the direction we want to head in? Secondly, focusing on correlation versus causation. So what companies do is say users who do X are 40% more likely to upgrade. Better approach would be, okay, let's understand why X behavior is happening and to see if this correlates with like the upgrades and our services. We're again validating, right? And finally, neglecting qualitative context. What companies might do is rely mostly on the quantitative AI analysis, where a better approach would be, let's combine the quantitative patterns with the primary qualitative customer conversations that we're having. Primary being the kind of focus there where we're speaking to them one-on-one with a good strategy and approach to how we're setting up those sessions. Oh, so we've got a quote in here from Jared Spool. Data tells you the what, conversations tell you the why.
Love it. And I think it can be used everywhere. I think we're starting to sound like a broken record. It's like, talk to your users, validate, test. But it's all true.
Well, this is the thing that gets, it's gotten results.
That's right. Lots of results.
Why would you do anything else?
Okay, let's talk about this hybrid approach that you just mentioned there. So hybrid approach is about combining AI data and human intelligence and understanding of the context, right? So for instance, we could be using AI, some kind of analytics on our platform, and we're collecting data, right? So AI will tell us what is happening on your platform. So it's great for processing huge amounts of data that human brain probably won't be able to analyze anyway. It could help identify the patterns and anomalies, and could potentially flag some urgent issues automatically, right? And track sentiment, even trends over time, which I think is really, really useful. And again, I think human brain is not able to analyze that. So in order to use this hybrid approach, step number one is using AI for scale, right? To understanding what's happening. Right. In step number two of how to use this hybrid approach of AI and human brain is adding the human context. I see you're smiling. What's happening?
He said adding the human brain. I was thinking, yeah, the intelligence of the human brain.
Well, I think human brain is way more complex than AI at the moment.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's fine.
Okay, so step two is adding human context to all of this data and find out why something is happening on our platform, right? So before making any decisions, talk directly to your customers, showing the customers are showing some concerning behavior patterns, right? And focus on understanding why something is really happening, going very deep on that information. And understand also the competitive landscape and your customer context of where they're coming from, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is cool. Like this, the finding out why. I've seen some teams sharing insights of how they were using AI tools, and they were talking about like a sign up form on a page, and then they had like AI providing some like really fascinating insights of what was happening. So they just immediately started changing things, and what happened was after they changed the field on the insights from the AI, which was mostly quantitative data, the conversion dropped off because they didn't actually realize like what was working in that experience and the UI for the customer. So they had to like then revert back because they'd realized they'd missed something just acting on the AI insights in alone, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, but what they say, you can't automate empathy, right? You need human touch to understand human context. Okay, and step number three in using this hybrid approach of AI and human intelligence is validating with real behavior. So if you decided to go a certain direction, test your findings before making any changes. Just like you said with those forms, they shouldn't have gone with changes straight away, but rather validate the assumptions based on the information from AI. So test new solutions with users before going live. Watch what customers do, not just what they say. I think we repeated that a couple of times in this episode. Measure business impact, right? Not just engagement metrics. And like you said, our favorite one is the profitability, and iterate based on revenue outcomes and users' actual needs constantly. And if you are building for users have never spoken to, you're building blind right? So we just need to remember that. So just to summarize, in order to combine a hybrid approach, AI and human intelligence or human brain, step number 1, use AI for scale. Step number 2, add human context. And step number 3, validate with real behavior. So that's like a recipe for success.
100%. Okay, cool. So to just summarize and give you some takeaways of everything in this episode, AI is powerful, enormously so, but it's important to remember it's incomplete. It can spot patterns, predict churn, and track sentiment at scale, but it's not going to understand context or emotion or user intent. So let's not forget that bit. Synthetic users aren't real users. They mimic feedback, but can miss nuance. That can be really, really important. So without human validation, you risk building on faulty assumptions. Faulty assumptions, yeah. So AI can tell you something is happening, but it can't really tell you why, at least as of today, that is, of course. The hybrid model wins always. AI helps us scale insights, but human judgment turns that data into real strategic decisions that are going to make a difference, profit, bottom line. Let's not overestimate or get too excited. Finally, smart companies validate, observe, and listen. They'll use AI to flag problems, then talk to users and track outcomes before taking action. So if you're using AI, you might only be seeing half the picture. Those companies winning are mixing silicone with human senses.
Nice. All right, so just to close this episode, we have a small challenge for you this week, and it is about looking at your product insights process and just double check how much you rely on AI. If it's like around 80%, I would probably say you're not really understanding your users and you might need to speak a little bit more to them because you might be missing out on a lot of information. And as we spoke about today, AI might be making up a lot of shit. And if you haven't spoken to a real user in the last 30 days, that's a red flag. And if you build a feature based solely on AI insights, test it now because it might be completely wrong. If your team trusts dashboards more than direct quotes from your customers, it's time to change it. Because AI is smart, but it's not your customer. Okay, if you enjoyed this episode and you think somebody else might find it useful, please share it with them. Also, please like and subscribe to our channel. You can also connect with us on LinkedIn and other socials. We would really like to hear from you. Also, you can visit our website buildinggreattech.com for some free stuff that will help you improve conversion retention and market fit of your platforms and become more customer focused. See you next time.